Okay, I think I'm live. I mean, I always say that and never really know, but Lawrence, I have not had a guest on my vlog series other than my wife, and I don't plan on kissing you, so that's good. But man, welcome to vlog episode 11. I started this ostensibly 11 to 12 weeks ago because I think I've already failed once, 12-ish weeks ago.
12-ish weeks ago.
And I just want to have us sit down and talk about my week every week and just have a moment to kind of reflect and think about it. And since you have shared almost every breakfast with me this week and or dinner or lunch,
True.
it is an idea that we could do this together. So thanks for being here, man.
I appreciate it. Appreciate being here.
Why don't you introduce yourself for people that may not know you?
Sure. I'm Lawrence Cruciana. I am the founder and president of Corporate Information Technologies at MSP in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina.
And adding to that, as a humble human, he is one of very few assessed MSPs through CMMC Level 2 that exist that I know of, right? You, Bobby, Summit 7, a handful of those.
There's a very, very small number.
Yeah. So the reason we've been hanging out together, I think we are somewhat separated at birth. Anyway,
yes, but the fact that we think so much alike and have so many of the shared experiences, opinions.
Even down to pepper growing.
Yes,
for some reason.
even down to
the
I guess attraction to a little bit of capsaicin-based paint.
Yeah, for sure. So we're here at RSA. This is a suite that I want to say for the PAX 8 salary people. This is not my suite. This is his suite. And even then it was given to him because of a mistake. But ultimately we're in a suite right here in San Francisco. I'm looking up the hill that I do not want to walk back up again out the window. And it's great to be here.
Did find that it was a 36-degree incline. For 271 feet of ascent.
Yeah. So what does that come out? That's what is that? A quarter of a mile up? No, 205 thousandths, whatever that number is. It's not a quarter. That's stupid. Anyways, okay. Dumb guy here. So you can make fun of me. Let me know if you're here in the chat. I see a number of people connected and watching. So if you will chat in YouTube and it'll pop up. I can show you stuff on screen. I normally go through and review all the places I've been, all the differences that, cities I've been in. And I'm just going to tell you right now in this episode, I didn't do the work. So we'll go ahead and switch to this. But this is my numbers this week. Failed. I will give you an update on flights and on city counts and on presentation counts and all that next week on Monday. When I'm stationary after being home for a couple of days, I'll be back in Orlando Monday. And I'll have some time to set up my gear and do a stream about where we are if you want to follow up with what all I've been. But we've been at RSA and B-Side San Francisco. Right? Tell me what your experiences of B-Side San Francisco was. Just give me your takeaway on what that was.
So for those who don't know B-Sides is a security practitioner-focused set of conferences. They're all over the country. And B-Sides San Francisco, as you can imagine, because of where we are, right? We're in the heart of Silicon Valley. It is all of the bleeding edge, the things that we'll be talking about in mainstream in 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
The people that attend B-Side San Francisco are the ones that are working on them, innovating them, creating them today.
Yeah.
And it was an inspirational conference in a lot of ways. I mean, got to hear the incomparable and great Wendy Nather.
Oh, that was heart-wrenching. Wendy talked about and showed the pictures of having to deal with the fact that her husband passed away and that she didn't have the passwords, which is one theme of the story, right? And that they had to bring in HD Moore to come, do a password cracking or rainbow tabling ostensibly, or who knows what HD did.
But
right?
Just to pause there.
Yeah.
Right. There are very few people that when they have a problem with their home network can call HD Moore and say,
that is true.
Can you come over and help me?
Hey,
out?
Would you bring your cracking kits and your rainbow tables and come help me out? Oh, thanks, friend. I'll see you soon. Yeah, it's a short list, right?
It's a very short list of those that can do that.
True story. Well played. Yeah, and so, but she talks about it. She goes on to say that even after she got back in the equipment, she couldn't bring herself to tear down. And that was such a real moment for me, right? Because I'm going to die. You're going to die, right? And I hope I die before Kat. That'd be much easier for me. But the point is, could you imagine being in that position? And so she was doing a good job to really make it emotional and real. And, I think that's a common theme that I've seen from practitioners lately, right? It started off with Clint talking about those same things, and then you extend into Wendy just knocking it out of the park on the second part of that. But my takeaway from B-Sides is I forgot there was a conference. You know why?
What?
I met Jack Reesener.
Oh,
I did fanboy.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Oh, that was cool. You were so. Tell me about the situation. Explain kind of how it played out.
Okay, so I don't think we need to set up who that is,
I
right?
hope not.
I hope
for
not,
most
right.
of you, Dark Knight Diaries, right? Yeah, okay.
Right, like the original, surely one of the original like podcasts covering hackers and kind of the dark arts.
Yeah, 100%. And very, as we're going to go on to see in this discussion and story, there's a method to the madness. Right?
There is a surprising method to the madness.
Yeah.
But no, I was having a conversation with what we think might be his significant other, but someone he was there having a conversation with, and I struck up a conversation there, and then sooner than later learned who this was. That was
now. Did you know before I walked up who he was?
I knew who he was. Had very strong suspicions. He had not.
But
yet,
did he know you knew who he was yet?
I don't think so.
Because he pulled his mask up after I came,
Yes.
after he was done eating.
Yes.
So to set the stage and continue, I come up at some point during their conversation, and Lawrence, as usual, is in some passionate about to talk about his speech and what we're going to be doing at RSA with them. And I stumble out there to this balcony, really looking for Lawrence with Kat, and Lawrence goes, "Oh, here's my co-presenter now." And so I went straight into, I think she asked me, I won't say her name again for the respect of trying to protect that OPSEC, I guess. But it was probably not her name anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the point is that they go, "Well, tell me about your presentation." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do it. Let's go." And we got into shared responsibility, the plight of the MSP, the extensions of shared responsibility not actually being spoken towards, and just all that stuff. And they were fascinated. They were genuinely in, and you could feel the chemistry. It was a great conversation. And then you could tell, like, he paused, he pulls up his mask, and then you start reading it. And I'm ignorant. Kat knows at the point. I'm pointing to her over there because she's off camera and won't come on camera. But but Kat knows that at this point that this is Jack. And he then puts his mask up and it says Dark Knight Diaries, white glasses with blacked out lenses. And then he holds out a sticker.
Right.
And it's like he's saying, "Hey, stupid."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting here. Anyway, sorry.
No, I agree. Like it was a very unsubtle way of saying, like,
"Look at me, stupid."
Hello.
Look at me, stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though, like, no one knows him.
Yeah.
Publicly.
No, exactly.
Like, he does not disclose his face.
That's right.
Even in that environment, he still did not disclose.
He did because he was eating,
yes,
and we happened upon him. But to your point, he put it up
Hat,
quickly.
Glasses. He made. She exists.
My stream just went up 1,000%.
That's right.
But so then the story goes on. My fascinating part, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is I had asked him a dumb question: "How do you manage your OPSEC?" And he just pointed at his face, and anyways, it's fine. But then I asked him, I told him, I said, I just want you to know. Actually, first I didn't trust that it was him.
Right. Yeah.
Right. My first initial
kind of like probe a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, because in my mind, I'm a security guy, right? Everybody's gonna try to trick you. Social engineering is all the rave these days.
Yeah, of course.
And so I just kind of was like, all right, man. Like, first off, bold move to do that right here in B-Sides SF.
Yep.
Like that would be pretty baller.
That would be
bold
in that environment with those people that are there. Yes.
Yes, it would be bold. And so instead, he said, I kind of basically said, "Do the thing." Right. Come on, man, do the thing.
Do the thing. And
so
he did the thing.
Yeah, it was perfect. Anyways, and so we go on, and I laid on something that, if you've ever known me, you can ask me a question that will trigger me to speak passionately for hours potentially. And so there's several of those, but he has one in particular. And it was really about the show and what he's trying to do. And I said, one of the things I notice is just the structure of the way you build the show. You build it, you break in, you cut in with clarity, you overtone with voice, you come back, and it just keeps driving this kind of like, awesome feeling. Yeah. And he just starts exploding with excitement, right? Like, what did he get into next? Tell me what he was talking about.
I had shared that I was a board member of our local NPR affiliate.
Yeah.
And asked, because of his storytelling, because of the way that he conducts the show, I had asked if he knew several quite like well-established storytellers, amazing interviewers like Terry Gross
Sure.
on NPR. And
Yeah.
and then he's like, oh, I actually studied her and Ira Glass, and goes down to all of these amazing interviewers, and then does like he's like, no, I studied them because like I wanted to bring that style into the show. And he like it was like he studied psychology and how people learn.
And it's about the dopamine.
Yes,
He says, I want to make the
dopamine.
maximum dopamine release. And it was funny because that was the key element.
Right.
And no pun intended, but that was the key aspect, right? Because it's not an element. I know it's just a chemical. Fine, just dox me, make fun of me in the comments. It's fine. But the point is he it's so critical. Dopamine to him is definitely what he's trying to do.
It is.
And her earrings
were serotonin.
Yeah. So like it was
tell
this is where he's living in that space. And anyways, it was a fanboy moment.
And you know, for me, I mean, same thing for me. But for me, the thing that was most interesting is very humble human.
Yep, definitely.
Right? Did not just like brush us off like no, I got this.
And I didn't get any impression that the reason he wanted to let us know who he was for him.
Agreed.
Yeah.
No, right. Yeah. No.
It was for me.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
And I.
It was for this moment, right now.
And I think that very, very humble. And the fact that he was there, right? He was at B-Sides. I think that spoke to the legitimacy and the genuineness, because that community is.
And he's interviewed a lot of them, as we found out. Yes. I won't get into that. I'm not going to violate anybody's privacy.
Oh.
But I went to a party later that night, and he wasn't there, but I was talking about my experience. And the one person standing across from me that I didn't know said, I was this episode, and that episode. The other person over here goes, I was this episode and that episode. I'm like,
which I have to say, that just indicates the rarefied air.
Oh, yes.
That you were part of.
Yeah, and I say I hate it when people say I don't deserve something. I don't want it to sound like that, but I want to say is like I certainly haven't earned the same level of battle scars that all of them have earned to be where they sit right now in that way. And it was very awesome to be there. I won't call out who it was that brought me, but thank you. You know who you are, and I appreciate it. And I will tell you a development off camera that I won't tell you right now that happened late last night out of this that will blow your mind.
All right.
I cannot share it. I'm just going to leave them on a cliffhanger until they hear it.
That way they tune in.
Maybe they will one day.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. So B-Sides finishes. We get all the awesome learning. B-Sides where all the nerdy, happy, exciting people go. And then now you come into a much different air. Why don't you describe it? What's RSA like by comparison to a B-Sides SF?
It's like Vegas for nerds with a budget.
That's a great way to put it.
600 and something thousand square feet of pure like display trade show booths.
Yeah.
Every security problem that you know of and many that you didn't know that you had.
Yeah.
There's not one but 10 different companies solving that problem of varying sizes on that floor. But the thing I'll say with RSA is it is the best, the brightest.
I mean, we slipped in.
We did, and
other than that,
I think that was a mistake on the program committee. But
I definitely think it was. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
But no, it is. It's really an opportunity at the largest stage I'm aware of in cybersecurity, in which the topics that are in the community's mind, not just what corporate programming puts out there, but what's in the community's mind. It affords them the practitioners a chance to talk about it.
And the selection committee, it's funny. I'm one of these people where I don't recognize when I do things that are hard. Like sometimes, I don't give it the proper respect it's due, and it's just the nature of I'm curious. I want to do something else. I want to do the next. I want to do next. But anyways, one of those things was I got accepted in the talk with you. Mm-hmm. We talked about shared responsibility matrix, and join us later on the PAX 8 YouTube if you want to hear a lot about that. And then I did another talk with Tara Wheeler about the plight of the SMB and the economics, a little bit of an expansion on what we touched on in our talk, right? As and a call to action that was different. But it was interesting because I didn't know until late last night at dinner. I was giving my third presentation for RSA. I had the two, you and I had one that was offsite for a dinner of executives for Easy DMARC. And I didn't know I was speaking. That was fun, right? They had
Well-
put it on the whole bill they sent out to everybody that Matt Lee was going to be a private speaker.
Oh,
Didn't tell me.
oh, fantastic.
Or if they did, I didn't pay attention. So this could be on me.
Yeah.
But I show up and they're like, "You got your speech ready?" I'm like, "I'm always ready, baby." But anyways, it was awesome. But I didn't know how rarefied air it is to have 2 in a year at any given point. And that maybe slipped through because there were dual talks and different primary names, maybe, but it was called out. Courtney, that is their chief marketing officer, I think chief marketing officer, I made his quote, but he just came from RSA. He had spent 15 years at RSA. And so for him to come out and he said, as he announced me, I don't know anybody else that's ever done. It was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. That's weird. All right. Maybe aggrandizing, but anyways, and so that was cool. But the fun part was I didn't have any real fear presenting here. I had respect presenting here. It's really hard to present to an audience that you don't know who they are.
Right.
Like you said, in our first talk, did you see the guy who was sitting by the pole?
I did.
Do you know who he was?
I do not.
He was the head of the NFL's GRC and third-party risk management components. And it's like, what do I have to help you with?
Right.
Like, who the hell am I? And it was good. And I think in both of our talks, we had people wanting to talk to us, right? In my second talk, Tara left. She had to get to the airport right away. And so I was needing to run to a meeting with a startup company down about half a mile away. And so I had to leave. And so I talked with a few of them, and then I was like, all right, y'all, anybody wants to follow me,
Right.
and we can talk. And this one kid stayed along all the way past Moscone Center down to the tea shop around the corner. And I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go in here. He's like, okay, yeah, heading back. I was like, okay, that was cool. And it was fascinating because you got mixes of, one of them was, I need clarification. Like the one woman that walked up to us just wanted clarification real quick about the understanding of MSP versus MSP. That was my favorite part. She goes, you had a slide up that said MSP not equal to MSP. What do you mean by that? and it was fun. But it was just, I don't know, man. And I think you told me something about this of, while we only probably had maybe 100 to 200 people max in the room, maybe 100 is probably fair, or even generous potentially. I'm not sure. But it's later that matters.
It is.
Right? Help me understand that a little bit.
Well, and I think to build on something that you just said, you never know who's going to show up, right? Like everyone is here, right? And we clarify that. There's so many that are here.
Yeah.
That are they're the ones who pioneered the field, or they're the ones that did the hard thing the first time. And so many huge enterprise companies and governments, and I mean, it's incredible. And you never know who's going to be in the room. And so I think that's what makes RSA truly unique is you just don't know. And as there's a lot of conflict in this week. There's so many incredible talks.
Yeah.
And at least in my experience, it's the weeks later, as people return back to their normal life, they may have hit that favorite button in the schedule, and they come back and they listen to the talk, or the talk is then made available on the RSA YouTube channel, or they put some content or an excerpt out on the talk, and then there's this lingering effect that maybe 6 or 8 weeks where like people can reach out. Like I've had that experience a couple of times where it was months later.
Yeah.
And people reached out around clarification, or I want to understand more,
or I want to challenge you. I'm fine with that too.
I've in my I think it was my second RSA talk. This is what I was sharing with you. Like I had two very large companies that were kind of notorious competitors, and one of them said, and my advocation was, as an enterprise, you can do something in your supply chain that no one else can. You can help them. You can empower them. You have
a similar message we gave in this talk.
Very similar. Yes, and I had one of
Coca-Cola, let's say.
Yeah,
it's not Coca-Cola.
Right. It was not
Coca-Cola,
Coca-Cola,
Coca-Cola.
but right, two very large enterprise competitors. One who had the opinion of, how can I do that? Give me some more. The other saying, that's not my job. Like, that is not my responsibility. I don't want anything to do with them. That is on my vendors. And it was so interesting to see separately. They didn't know that,
Yeah.
they had no idea
Yeah.
that they said that, but separately to hear that. And it is, so it's the days and weeks after this in which I think the real impact comes.
And what was the impact? Like what John John Harmon, oh my goodness, not John German.
No.
John Harden. There's a fun story for that. It doesn't matter. But John Harden, I think, nailed it well. He sent a post on LinkedIn and said, "Thank you for bringing the voice of the MSP." And you also had the same kind of conversation in a post yesterday. But like, that's what we tried to do here was like explain to the regular security community,
right,
the rest of the world, the 50, ironically only 54-ish to 56-ish%, but the rest of the world, the MSP and the plight of the MSP and the economic conditions of the MSP. I'm not trying to be pejorative or diminutive in any way. And I mean, yes, I did bash MSPs. I have to point at Cat. I can't point at Cat. Okay. But yeah, I think we were trying to expose that community to the MSP. And I had two reasons for it. One, to your point, to ask them to help. Two, to ask them to drown them if they don't go where they need to go. Right. And I'm trying to help change this by saying MSPs are the answer to the problem for SMB. I genuinely, in the root of my soul, believe that. The problem is that to be an MSP, there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can do it without any standards, without any expectations, and yet they can check the same risk box, right? For that.
With no qualification to understand if that risk is in fact mitigated.
And thereby we make the postulation that it hasn't. And so what we're trying to do is raise the tide. In fact, one of the questions, the South African guy that came into my talk, the second talk, one of the questions he asked was, I think I understand you, Matt, that you would like to get rid of the MSPs that don't do these things, that don't follow frameworks, that don't move to standards, that don't start solving these problems in a way that's meaningful, which I do. I'd love to. Kind of the reason I had the Thanos Club in my presentation, right? Like I kind of had that as tongue in cheek,
right?
But I would. And he said, but how does that help? And I said, let me explain it. Even though I can't create a barrier to entry, like officially barrier to entry, let's say we were looking for that minimum viable crappiness. And he said, but you said MSPs are better no matter what. I said, I did. That's why he was arguing this, right? He's like, you said they're better no matter what. Why would you want to kill half of them? And I said, great. They're better no matter what. But if I can get rid of the bottom half, I have made that minimum viable crappiness doubled where it was. Right? I've risen that average of that median and of that average potentially higher and higher as I kill off the ones that aren't doing it. Right. And so the point is if we can give them the guidance and help and structure and convince the enterprise to spend some of their budget educating, training, helping make modalities that help them be better, things in that nature, then that will give them some of that below the cybersecurity poverty curve in the expertise capability, also in the capabilities, right, kind of space. And then if they don't take that, then don't choose to give them a contract. Right. If that MSP is not doing it, don't give that SMB a contract now. And that was kind of the call to action in that second talk. But he totally, it resonated with him, and it was a good. He came out and he actually said to me, "I wanted to come out here and tell you I liked your talk because you were funny, but it gave me no value." Wow. He said, but I couldn't. It was awesome, man. I just thank you so much. It was so good. But he was that total trying to troll me British, Queen's English humor, I suppose. But yeah, I've kind of beat this to death. It's at 12:25. Throughout this week, I've been basically in San Francisco, added some flights. We'll cover that next week. But biggest stage of my life, I think I delivered at least a B, I think, on both of those talks of what could be. And that's usually where I have to hold myself to a standard. I don't like to ever be below that. But I think we will find out over the next few weeks, as you said, what that impact is, where that goes. Did you ever get any ratings on our talks?
I did not. I've not been back to,
to
our handler.
Okay. Well, we might have to go check in with our handler. But anyways, when do you head home?
Well, Saturday.
Oh, you're staying.
I'm staying. I'm staying. I forget how many RSAs this is. 10, whatever.
Oh gosh.
And
3 for me.
Always at the end of this week, always purposely put a day or two of just buffer to make the application, to go back through the talks. Like I'll sit here and go back through the docs.
Okay.
The ones I couldn't get to, those favorites that couldn't, that were
So exactly what you just described is exactly what you're going to be doing.
just
Yeah,
described.
sure.
And like, I used to think I did that in a vacuum.
Yeah.
But I learned that there are
So many people doing that.
do that. And I think, to the point that you made, right, this is arguably the most impactful stage in cyber.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that, I want to encourage you in the fact that you did an effective job of bringing this community, right, the MSPs, at least into focus, that
Yeah.
at least people know. And I think for the MSPs that are watching this, right, that there are resources like they're available that are free.
Yep.
To get above the minimum viable crappiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
I hope that term catches on.
It's
Tara invented it when we were on a live stream together a year ago, and the MVC is fantastic.
It's so true. But this is an incredible stage. It's an incredible conference.
Yep.
No MSP, right? I would argue there's no like really MSP centric content here.
Nope.
This is enterprise and all of the big stuff, but at the same time, bringing and making the plight of the small business, like bringing that forth.
Yeah.
It's incredibly valuable, incredibly important.
So I told you last week I didn't know if I'd do another talk at RSA. I've already signed up to do another talk at RSA.
Nice.
Next year, I'm going to be putting in a talk when the RFP comes out with Jeff Mann, and really arguing about words and what they mean, and very specifically on assessment versus audit. I saw your face just then.
Oh, that's
it's going to get a
big difference.
Yes, it's going to be a beautiful conversation with Jeff Mann. If you don't know who Jeff Mann is, Jeff Mann's an OG, started NSA, red teamer for the NSA, did a whole lot of stuff in breaking into US systems in the early days, and now does a lot of education and evangelism and really keeps a lot of the hacker community together. And some of the OGs, I was blessed enough to get to meet some of those. So anyways, this is the end of my vlog. I appreciate you being the first non-Lee guest of my
thank you for having me.
vlog.
This is kind of fun. Good conversation.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
All right, if anybody's out there,